hopefully. Alright. Powered up. I think we're officially in business.
Great.
So I'm going to just kind of go back to where we were when the stream went offline because I'm a noob. And we were talking about how ZvP's pretty tough because Toss has quite a few options and Zerg is extremely reliant on the scout in that matchup. What kind of there are a few build orders we can use that are relatively safe to most things. How do you feel we should be opening in general against
Well,
Protoss opponent?
I think the safest opening is definitely an early pull with gas to get speedlings. I don't think 15 hatch or anything like that is viable because so many Protoss are going forge openings into cannon rushes. So that's you got to open really safe and just do like 14 pull and then 14 gas or 15 gas. Also to get the quick speed, which helps with 4-gate pushes.
Yeah.
So I think that's the best way to open.
All right, and so are we getting speedling in every game, or is it ever safe to open pool and then hatchery?
Pool and hatchery can be safe. I don't really use it myself because I just like having the quick speed. I think it gives you a little bit of an edge against people who do early 4-gate pressure. But you can actually do pool and hatch and pull it off. You just need to play more with like spine crawlers instead of masslings. It's really you can choose either one. It's about personal preference, I guess. I prefer getting speed.
All right, and so I honestly I like getting speed too. I think it gives us a lot of options in terms of map control, and it gives us a lot of presence, and it gives us a lot of abilities to counterattack. If
Yeah,
if
it's also scary, a little scary for Protoss if they are scouting your base and they see you take that gas, because then they also got to worry about possible one base roach play or some kind of all-in. So I think it's good if you're able to kill the probe quickly and you're getting that gas, and you leave like Protoss kind of in doubt about what you're doing. If you take the pool hatch build, then he pretty much knows that there's not going to be some kind of crazy roachling all in or anything like that. So it gives him a little more safety.
all right, and so well, let's talk mid game a little bit. So we get into we get through the early phases of the game. We don't die to some stupid 4-gate where they cut probes at like 18. And just rally zealots and stalkers into our base. In the mid game, what are our options, and what do you prefer?
Well, I like roachling as a basis against ground armies. I like that unit composition. But against Stargate plays, you're gonna have to get some Hydras, and then I like to transition into roachling in the end, anyways. I think roach is probably the most key unit ZvP. I like it a lot. It's pretty cost efficient against most Protoss units, unless you get force fielded to shit, which does happen sometimes. But yeah, I think roach should be the cornerstone unit for this matchup. And then you can.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You can add corruptors in case of Colossus, or add Hydras in case of Mass Immortals. That just depends.
I think it's interesting that you're advocating the Zerglings as an important part of the composition, because me personally, I've been noticing a lot of pure roach ZvP coming out of a lot of good players. Why do you add in those Zerglings? What's the purpose there, and how do you utilize them?
Yeah, I think the Zerglings are quite important because you can use them to do backstabs when they move out if they are being greedy and skipped on cannons. So it can give you a lot of options to counter his base. And also if you go pure roach, people just counter with like Stalker, Sentry, Immortal, and Lings do good against that unit composition. So it's nice if you can if you have like 20 or 30 Lings added to your roaches, just so you can do some flanking, just use those links to get a better position on the Protoss army.
All right. Let's talk about expansions and things like that. How do you gauge when to take your third? Do you ever make a macro hatchery in this matchup when you put it down? Things like that.
Yeah, I would always prefer taking my third over making a macro hatchery. But it really depends on what Protoss is doing. Like if they're like going for a massive two base push, like timing attack with not so many probes and just a lot of units, where it's going to be one big attack that you got to stop, then it can be very risky to take your third. So you got to kind of try to recognize these things early, and then you know, respond accordingly. But in a standard game, yeah, I think you should try to take your third as early as possible.
All right. Are there any indicators we can look for? Like when I'm playing, I usually use roach speed finishing as my cue to go expand. Do you expand earlier than that ever?
Yeah, if they go something like Forge Expand, and we're not in close positions, then I like taking my turret super early, like even before my lair. Yeah, if I see some super safe build like 3-gate expand with a Forge and then a cannon at their natural, and then I see something like a Robo go up, then I know like okay, he's gonna go for a longer game, and I know I can take my turret reasonably fast. And the faster the better. Obviously, it's just you got to be careful about it.
All right. And let's talk about Mutalisks a little bit. I know maybe a week or so ago, we were talking on Skype, and you said, hey, I ran into a Muta build that's pretty decent. How do you feel about Mutas in ZvP? Can we use them at all, or are they a no-no?
Yeah, I think Mutas are actually, it would be the best CvP opening if it wasn't for so many people doing such hardcore 4 or 5 gate pressure builds off expansion. Because when you're going Muta, you really need to get like a critical number, something like 12 or 13, that you can actually really do something with before you can, you kind of get map control and you can control the game. What happens when they do 4 or 5 gate, they just get so many units so early that they attack you before you have a critical number of mutas, and then it becomes really hard to play because they can just walk around the map with their units and you're just always like chasing him around, trying to get expansions up, but it can be really hard against the heavy gateway plays. But I do like to mix it in from time to time, especially if we're like really far away positions.
Awesome, awesome. Now let me ask this: if you're gonna go mutas, do you immediately say, okay, no more roaches, I'm gonna go mutaling purely, or is it possible to add roaches into that comp?
No, you have a lot of possibilities with that build. Like you can play pure muta, which if it's a good muta game where you didn't take a lot of damage, and you think you can play it out with pure muta, that's a good choice. If it's a little more like even, and he's got a lot of stalkers but no other tech, then doing something like a roach switch can be very effective.
Cool. And my chat seems to have glitched out here, but I'm hoping that we can play just one game where you kind of take the reins here and show us your most standard of standards, and and maybe talk us through what you're doing.
Yeah, sure. Sounds good.
Alright, so I'm going to just make sure that he's ready. I'm sending him a message right now. You ready to go, sir?
I'm ready.
Alright, good luck, have fun, GG. And
Thank
just
you.
go like last time, I'll be bugging you with questions and stuff, and trying to
All right.
distract you as much as possible.
That's. I hope it doesn't mess up my game too much. I don't want to lose tonight.
So, Zelnaga Caverns, do you have any thoughts going into this game just based on the map?
Well, I don't know how it is on American server, but if I get this map on Korean server, I know that it's pretty likely that I'm gonna get pylon walled and cannoned. So that's pretty much my only main concern here, or something to look for. Other than that, it's a pretty standard macro map, so
Alright.
I think it plays out pretty normally.
So with that cannon concern, will you be doing any cute things like preemptively patrolling a drone at the bottom of your ramp, or are you just going to wait until you see a probe before you even
No,
respond?
I'm just gonna do my standard 14 pool and then 15 gas or 14 gas. And then if I see that, I will just respond with roaches to bust it.
Oh, cool. You won't even bother busting out soon.
No,
That
I don't
is
like drones that are not mining minerals.
fair enough. So if like me, I've always, as soon as I see that pylon wall, I've always pulled 3 drones and start attacking it right away. Would you call that an overreaction or an incorrect one?
No, it really depends. Like if the pylons are going up late and your pool's almost done, if you can bring down the pylon's health a lot, and then your links will be able to get out more quickly, then it's a good response. But if you're just gonna kill the pylon to half health and then a cannon finishes, and you can't do anything else, then obviously it's a waste of 3 drones. So it really depends on the timing on the pylons.
Cool, cool, cool. And so if you're going 14 pool, 15 gas, you're obviously shooting to expand around 20, 21.
Um, if I don't get pylon blocked, then I'm probably going to take 1 or 2 drones off gas and expand earlier, and then get my speed a little bit later. It just depends on what he's going to do. I'm not sure about the number, but we should be able to tell in a sec.
There never seems to be any absolutes when I ask you questions. It's always very you you busted out the Bruce Lee quote on me the other day, like water, very adaptive.
Yeah, I don't really go into games with a set plan, so I think it might be easier for people who are new to play in like a set build order, but it's just not what I do in my games. So I have no idea about the numbers on anything. I just go by the flow. I can't say like this would be the normal 19, I guess would be my expansion timing.
So get
Now I get
those
speed. So
first 4 lings, and you're going right back to making drones. This looks like really pretty typical of the same style I would play.
yeah, there's really no point making more lings early because there's going to be a zealot
Mhm.
on the ramp and you're not going to be able to do too much. So, but these 4 lings are important because I want to see what comes out of the gateway. If it's a sentry, then I know most likely it's not going to be some kind of hardcore 4-gate all-in. Yeah, it's a sentry. So I think right now my safest assumption or most logical prediction would be like something like a 3-gate expand.
Mhm.
So I'm just going to keep making drones.
So if that
If that would
second unit was a zealot or a stalker, would you
that
start?
was a stalker and there were like a lot of chrono boosts going off on the core, I
Mhm.
would be a lot more worried about something like 4-gate.
So would you respond with extra queens and zerglings, or would you just
Uh, pro
chill for now?
Probably a few more links just to be a little more safer. Maybe a spine up my natural. Now I see 2 sentries, so I'm pretty convinced he's gonna do a very safe 3-gate expansion build, which is nice because that gives me a lot of room to drone up.
Mhm.
Not really worried too much. There's the probe. 3 sentries.
Now sometimes we see Toss push out with like 6 sentries and a handful of zealots after this 3-gate expansion. Is that
Yeah.
something that ever scares you, or do you always feel like it's pretty easy to cope with that little cute push?
I just try to get my roach warren in time, so I can always like last minute bust out like 8 roaches, and that's usually enough to deal with this. Like right now, I guess
Yep.
that's what he's doing.
Yep. It looks like he's poking out a little bit.
So I just want to make roaches last minute.